Hello, Stephanie.
Hello.
Hi, Stephanie. Can you hear me?
Yeah, how are you?
Got some PC issues today. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Are you
Okay.
hearing me? Okay.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
I didn't have it turned on.
Okay.
So we met yesterday with Yolanda at the Pineville location
Okay.
just to kind of do a dry run because we're going to do an in-person workshop in 2 weeks.
Oh, great. Okay.
The first one in, I think, since COVID, basically.
Probably, yeah, like
Long time,
5
yeah.
plus years. Wow. Well, yeah, I'm curious to see how that does. Hey. So, have you done quite a few of the shortened 90-minute programs at this point, or?
Sorry.
So the programs are shortened now, right? 90 minutes versus.
I think so. Yeah, it's going
Okay.
to be an hour. And it's Lindsay. Have you worked with Lindsay before? Lindsay Peel.
I don't
She's
think so.
she's the presenter,
Okay.
and then a half hour for you. So that would
Oh,
be. I think we'll leave some time open for Q&A.
okay. All right. And then I guess so Monica
Lucas.
uh well, that's me,
No,
Lucas.
that's you,
But
Stephanie Lucas.
yeah, that's okay.
Mo-
Monica Molina, I think, is going to try to join us. Her organization, I think they spoke at a previous SCORE meeting just for a couple of minutes. But
Okay.
Yolanda's, I think she arranged it with, who's your director now?
Jim Ciccarello.
Oh, maybe it wasn't Jim.
It was Jane before. They kind of co-chaired.
Find this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Jim Ciccarello. That's what you said. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. And looks like Jim said he copied Lindsay, so she should know about Monica joining.
Joining today.
Yeah. She's with APDNC, and I don't even know what that is.
He wrote something that for the in-person presentation, there's also going to be one of the banks involved in a presentation. They're going to get 15
Ooh,
minutes.
okay.
I just got that.
Um, okay. So yeah, so Yolanda mentioned that, the library, we are supposed to shorten our presentation time to 15 minutes. And that Monica, yeah, he said if Monica needs a few more minutes, going 5 minutes over would not be the end of the world, but I think we'll be fine. She said she only takes a couple of minutes.
Okay. I'm trying to share. I don't know what's going on today. Trying to share my PowerPoint presentation. That's not it. you go. Can you see that?
Yeah. Mhm.
Hey, Jim.
Hi there. How's everybody doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Hi, Stephanie. I don't know.
Hi.
I'm not sure we've met before.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah,
I
so I'm getting involved with webinars more and more.
oh
So we were just talking to Yolanda a couple of nights ago, and look forward to working with you in these sessions.
yeah, I'm happy to be doing it. And I heard from Monica Molina, who I think Yolanda had copied you about a couple of days ago. She's with the Economic Development Partnership of North
Right.
Carolina. I think she said she needed to head to her hotel. Weather was kind of bad and she wasn't gonna have time to join me here. So hopefully she will make it into the meeting.
Okay. Okay. Well, obviously it's Joe's moderating tonight, so I just clicked in because I know he had some access issues. I just wanted to make sure everything was good. So
I got it. Thank you, Jim.
yeah,
I'm waiting for Lindsay. She's the presenter.
right.
Have you heard anything from her?
I have not. I have not. Uh, you did you email her at all, Joe, to remind her or?
No, I did not. I did last time, and we all got a reminder a couple of days ago to
Yeah.
that the workshop was coming up, but I haven't heard from her directly. No.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed. I was going to hang around for a little while. I won't be here for the whole call, or for the whole webinar, but I'll hang in there. And if one of us has to present, that's fine. So whatever, we'll figure it out. Let me reach out to her and send her a text. Let me get her access number. Let's see.
Hi, Cindy. Cindy Basenpiler. I hope I say that correctly. Yes, I see you. I see you're on, but you're muted and not on camera. Can you hear me? Oh, good. Thank you.
Well, I sent her a text. We'll see if she responds.
Jim, Stephanie asked a question before on length of presentation, that there was a change that we are,
Yeah, Stephanie, we're trying to keep the whole thing to, like 90 minutes. So, to the extent that, we're targeting an hour for the score portion, 15 minutes for your portion. And, I haven't seen the deck, from, the other presenter. So, but hopefully,
Okay.
hopefully it's 15 minutes. And,
Yeah, well, she
if we run
mentioned to
over,
me
it's no
that it
big
was,
deal.
yeah, she mentioned to me that she just spoke for a few minutes, I guess, a few months ago,
Okay.
at a meeting. So I don't anticipate us going over. We should be fine. And Yolanda, yes, told us just to plan on 15 minutes.
Yeah, and it's just we were starting to see the times click,
Oh, yeah.
go pretty long, and with some of the presenters on our side and on your side. So
Yeah.
we were just trying to focus everybody on a 90-minute, because I think we lose a lot of attention, with folks after, really after an hour, but 90 minutes is
Yeah.
including Q&A. I think that's more reasonable for everybody.
Yeah, I feel like there's usually quite a few have dropped off
Right.
by the end. So sure, it makes sense.
Well, so this presentation, Joe, I got to get you the newer one. This is the older one. I thought I had sent you the newer one, but
no,
that's
that's.
okay. I mean, it's the same. It's the same. It's the same. We just, but it's fine.
It's the one from the
Yeah, right,
class manager from the
right.
members only.
Yep.
And thank you for responding to it. I don't know what happened. It's happened to me a couple times now. When I try to log in, it's giving me the webmaster login.
You finally did get in though?
I did get in.
Okay.
Kept tacking around. Okay, so we are 3 minutes away from 5:30, and we have one attendee. It's Cindy. Of course. Yes.
Well, you have you actually opened it? Is this this is not the practice session. This is the real session.
This is the reals.
Did you log in from the as a presenter or as the? I'm sure it'll be fine either way, but
There's
oh,
somebody.
there we go. There's Lindsay. Okay. Hi, Lindsay.
Hello, everyone. It's Lindsay. Nice to meet you all. See you.
Nice to meet you all. So it looks like we're all here. So that's great. So you can ignore my text.
Okay.
Okay, people are rolling in now. Hello, Catalina. Hello, Wari Billups.
Um, Not Jim, but the other fellow who was just talking. What's your name? Sorry, I don't think we've met before.
Oh, me? I'm Joe Warner. I'm a mentor, and I'm helping you today. I'm the class manager today.
Awesome.
Everything's organized.
Pleasure to meet you.
All right, Bori, I got your message that you can hear us. Okay, thank you. Catalina, I don't think we have you on. I don't think any of you we have you on audio. We're doing it strictly. If you have any questions, please put it in the webinar chat.
And if it's okay with you, Joe,
Yeah.
normally what I will do for people who are interested, I will promote them to a panelist just so that they can also come off mute and speak to us if they would like.
Sure.
So I've been sending requests. And for everyone who's receiving the request, if you would prefer not to speak, or to be promoted, it is totally okay. You can just hit decline on the request. How is everyone's Thursday evening going so far?
you.
You are welcome. I can hear you now.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
This is Tori. Okay.
You are good to go. Pleasure to have you. And I always say, you know, if you have the flexibility to be on camera, you know, we highly encourage it just so that you can engage with us. I always consider this more of a discussion. We are not here to teach at you, but to really make sure that we are empowering you to ask questions, talk back, share some of your real life feedback if you like. So we are going to get started in maybe one more minute and give a couple of more folks an opportunity to join in. But while we do that, I would love for everyone to introduce yourselves in the chat. I always say, no matter where you are, you never know where your next partner may be, your next investor, or somebody else that might have a service that you need that could be in this room with you all. And for those of you who accepted the opportunity to be promoted to a panelist, we also welcome you. If you would like to come off mute to briefly introduce yourself, I think that will be great.
Yeah, Lindsay, I'm moving everyone who is an attendee over to panelists so they can decide if they want to talk or not.
Perfect.
But during the presentation, just to kind of keep the flow going, do you want questions answered on the spot, or should we capture them and I'll pose them?
I like to answer sometimes as I go through. Usually I will find a spot within the presentation where I'll pause to take some of the questions that I do see in the chat. So we'll kind of tag team that. For the most part, I usually can see, but you can hold me accountable. Hello, good evening, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much to everyone who started to introduce yourselves in the chat. It is such a pleasure to meet you all. My name is Lindsay Peel. I am a SCORE mentor. I have been with the Charlotte SCORE chapter now for almost 4 years this year. So really exciting. In addition to all of the amazing work that we do here through SCORE, I am a dualpreneur in the financial services industry. My 9-to-5 is working with an international microlending nonprofit organizations that provide small business loans to entrepreneurs up to $15,000, 0% interest, zero fees, no collateral needed for entrepreneurs just like you. And my 5 to 9 is providing financial education and expertise to entrepreneurs in both personal and business. So I'm really excited for today's presentation. Really looking forward to hopefully empowering you all, helping to take some of those ideas and to create a path to reality, and really being able to make sure that you don't leave here with any questions unanswered. So in every single SCORE presentation, we always like to make sure that we allow an opportunity for our public library system to come and to connect and to share so many wonderful tools and resources that they have available for you all to use and leverage for your business. And Monica, if you would like, I typically in my presentations, I like for you all to go first. That way, if I run my mouth too much, we do not run out of time for you to give your presentation. So if you're ready, I will turn the floor over to you for your presentation.
Thank you so much. And I know Stephanie from the from the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library may have some thoughts too, but I just appreciate 30 seconds to talk about the small business advisors that are with the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina. Once you've completed these simple steps for starting your business and you are ready to get launched and get things registered, the small business advisors maintain a checklist of all of the different agencies you need to register with, permits and licensing, and information about the taxes that you need to be aware of. We are available 8:30 to 4:30, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and would love to help you with filling out your, if it's an LLC, your LLC forms, your EIN application, your DOR, Department of Revenue Business Registration, whatever we can help with. So we don't duplicate what SCORE does. They have an amazing strategic support with this simple steps and all of the wonderful webinars that we refer people to every single day. So that is everything that that I would like to talk about as a small business advisor. And I'm so grateful that you were willing to have us on your presentation.
Always, always. Thank you. Thank you so much. And for that, I will turn the floor over to you, Ms. Monica, for your presentation.
Okay. Oh, well, I'm Stephanie from the library, and that was Monica who just spoke. I know it's confusing because I shared my invite with her, so it's yeah.
Fair
Okay.
enough.
Sorry about that. So yeah, so my name is Stephanie. I work with the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library. I work at the Matthews branch. I am actually sending a request to be able to share my screen so I can pull up my slides if somebody doesn't mind giving me that
Yeah, I just did.
hour. Okay, thank you. Okay, so now let me grab my slides. Okay. Okay, so hopefully everybody is looking at my slides currently. So I have never done this before where I do the intro, so bear with me. But I just want to talk about the different tools that you can use for starting your business just with a library card. So a lot is going to be said in this SCORE program about the importance of developing your business plan. So the library is a great resource for that. Let me stop this. Sorry. Okay. So we are a great resource for your business development. So when I go to our website, cmlibrary.org, and I look at our digital resources, if I choose the filter for business development, I get more than 50 different results. So we have resources for data on your industry, data on your competitors, data on your suppliers, data on your customers, and we have tools to help you when you're ready to even to put together your marketing campaign. So we just put together a little example of starting a business to help you kind of run through the different tools that you might want to use from the library. Okay, so for our example, we like to pretend that we are starting a pet supply business. So this first tool that I'm going to show you is called ABI Inform. ABI stands for Abstracted Business Information. So this database is going to provide industry profiles, business trends, corporate strategies, competitive landscapes, financial forecasts, and more. So in this instance, with us looking just to start a pet supply business, when we search that industry and ABI, we see that 70% of households in the US have at least one pet. So we might conclude from there that having a pet supply store, it may be a viable move for us. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to another tool. This is called Data Axle. Used to be called Reference USA, if anybody's heard of that. But we get a broad view with ABI. With Data Axle, we can start to look at the local landscape for our business. So this is a database of business companies throughout the US and Canada. This is going to be a great tool for assessing the competition, but it might be a good tool for even finding suppliers for your business. So you can search companies by the SIC code, the Standard Industrial Classification Code, or you can use keyword searches if you don't have the codes. You can do searches by geography, local, all the way up to national, different zip code searches, county searches, all those kinds of things. So here in this example, when we search pet supply businesses in Mecklenburg County, we see that there are already 269 pet supply businesses in the county. From there, still in Data Axle, you can look at your map feature, and this is going to allow you to see the saturation levels of the businesses similar to yours. So we can use this map to find areas where the competition is a bit more sparse. Okay. So I'm moving on to a third tool. This tool is called Simply Analytics. So now that we've assessed the competition, we can try to find our customers using library resources. So for this, Simply Analytics is a great tool. It's going to allow you to find demographics, business marketing data, show you how much people who live in any given area spend in your industry. Okay, so this heat map is going to show us the levels of spending for people who live in these different areas of Charlotte. And this is spending specifically to the pet supply industry for this example. Okay. So another screenshot from Simply Analytics. And this is going to show us that in 2022, residents of Mecklenburg County spent $500 million on their pets. So you can look at local spending, but you can also see how that compares to spending in the state or spending in the nation, and just ensure that you are in the right area for your target business. Okay, so you have all this data. How are you going to use it to grow your business? All right, here's one example. And I think this is a great thing to do with these two tools, Data Axle and Simply Analytics. You can compare those heat maps from Data Axle and Simply Analytics and find areas where there is high customer spending, but a low industry competition. This maybe applies more to, I don't know what kind of businesses people in this session are looking to build, but specifically for brick and mortar businesses, this is going to be a really good comparison to make. Okay, also in Simply Analytics, you can use the demographic data to determine how you want to reach your customers. So, you know, if you have an older demographic, maybe you want to still stick with a traditional postcard campaign. If you have a younger demographic, maybe you need to go to social media. You know, is it going to be Facebook? Is it going to be Instagram? Those are the kind of decisions you can make when you start to look at the details of your local audience. Okay, and you've decided how to reach your audience. Now you have to figure out what are you going to say to them in your marketing campaign. A tool for that would be Masterfile. With Masterfile, you can find articles written by experts in your field. When you pull quotes from the experts, and that's going to help add a sense of authority to your messaging, and it's going to maybe help you look a little more savvy in your marketing materials. Okay, and you want to make sure you're keeping up with local business news. So we have free access to the Charlotte Business Journal and the Observer online. And we are going to have tools to help you with all of the different roles that you have to fill as an entrepreneur. So maybe you need to brush up on accounting, marketing, management, human resources, your Microsoft Office tools, your Excel spreadsheets, anything like that. We have great online courses. You get free access to LinkedIn Learning with your library card, and also Universal Class. And those are both going to provide great online courses that you can take at your own pace and learn exactly what you need for your business.
Stephanie,
Okay.
Stephanie, we have a quick question from
Yeah.
Mark Cooper. She was asking whether the map that you showed before, is that something that works for an online business as well?
Yeah, you can, yes, you can absolutely do the mapping tool to look at the demographics for your area. I was saying specifically when you are looking at the competition, it might pertain a little bit more to brick and mortar versus online businesses. But yes, you can use absolutely that tool for any kind of business. So, and then I want to share Gale Directory Library. This is going to be a great resource for finding professional organizations related to your industry. So just keep in mind, peer groups can be a great resource as you build your business. And it can, again, it can also help you locate maybe suppliers or partner organizations that you need to work with. And finally, the library itself. So we have Book a Librarian business research appointments that you can make. If you go to our website, cmlibrary.org, go to our calendar of events, you can set up an appointment. Those, some are in person, some are online. If you want to work for an hour with a business librarian. And we also have any other the SCORE programs we do and other business development programs will be on that calendar. And we have a great variety of ebooks on business. Libby, our big ebook resource, has a wonderful business collection. So again, audiobooks and ebooks that you can check out 24 hours a day from home. And you know, if you come into the library, we have a great print collection as well. Okay, so if you have any questions as you work through your business plan, feel free to call this number, 704-416-0101. We would love to help get you started using the library as a resource for your business. That is,
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Shout out to you. We're going to give you some snaps and hand claps for your first presentation. You did absolutely amazing. And we have a couple of questions. So, Ms. Cooper, before I come back to you, I wanted to get the question in the chat that I saw. Ms. Tiffany wanted to know if the meeting with the librarian can be virtual.
Yes, yes. I think the example slide I gave, those are online events. So yeah, it's probably actually more frequent to find them online. So yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Ms. Cooper, I saw your hand go back up.
I have some questions for trying to start in like a clothing online brand.
Okay, so those are probably, probably be better addressed in, or did you want to know about using the library for that, or?
Yeah, like the resources to get started, because I had talked to somebody and they was talking about like EINs and LLCs.
Oh, okay. So that's actually going to be addressed in this SCORE presentation. So if they will actually specifically address those kind of things in the SCORE part of the presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. All right. Well, thank you so much for the time.
You are so welcome. If you all have any additional questions regarding the library system, tools, resources, scheduling meetings, definitely don't hesitate to drop them in the chat. We will make sure, Stephanie, if you happen to have to leave early, we'll make sure that we get those questions to you via email if we can't answer them. And if you're here, if you stay, you know, we definitely welcome you to connect in the chat with everyone. Now we are going to transition into our SCORE presentation. Joe, I think you were sharing your slides earlier. Did you still want to run the slides?
Yeah, real quick, we have a question from Sue Prati. She's from Raleigh, and she asked whether SCORE has resources in Raleigh. We do have several resources in Raleigh. So just go to score.org and find a local location, a local office.
You are so welcome, Sue. And hello and welcome to everyone who joined us while our library presentation was happening. We are so very happy to have you. Tonight, your instructor is myself. My name is Lindsay Peel. I have been a SCORE mentor for almost 4 years now. I have been on all sides of the entrepreneurial ecosystem, from as an entrepreneur myself, working in the banking industry with entrepreneurs, volunteering with SCORE. I'm the board chair for my local chamber of commerce. So a lot of things, a lot of expertise that we'll be able to provide you all in today's presentation. If we can go to the next slide, please. I also welcome Everyone, if you have not already introduced yourself, please, please, please do not hesitate to let us know in the chat who you are. If you would like to do a verbal introduction, we are more than happy to create space for you to do that as well. Now, let me ask, how many people who are here have already worked with SCORE, whether you have a mentor that you've been assigned to, that you've partnered with, whether you've attended any other workshops before? Who has already been in SCORE's ecosystem? Okay, I see one hand. Okay. So shall I assume that this is everyone's first experience with SCORE? If so, type yes in the chat. Awesome. Well, it definitely doesn't give any pressure at all to make sure that this is an amazing first experience with us. As you see here on our screen, this is a glimpse of our process roadmap. For all of my first-time SCORE folks in the audience, we provide a plethora of resources, from one-on-one coaching and counseling to virtual workshops. If you have not already, I highly recommend that you go to our website and subscribe to our newsletters. When you receive our newsletters, you receive all of the good stuff that's happening in your local market, in your community. You also receive an opportunity to attend workshops just like today. So definitely make sure that you do not miss out on this opportunity. And if after tonight you do not have a SCORE mentor, I highly recommend that you sign up for a mentor. Ms. Tiffany says, I signed up for a mentor a few weeks ago. Will I receive one during this meeting? So usually during this session, we don't necessarily assign you a mentor. However, we want to make sure that we can follow up with our intake team to make sure that you get placed with a mentor. So let me write down your name, Ms. Tiffany.
Yeah, and I've got it. Just to let you know, we have an intake team that actually is trying to match you with. We have almost 85 mentors in a greater Charlotte area, and they come from all walks of life, different backgrounds, different industries, different functional experience. And what our intake team typically tries to do is to kind of, match you with someone who has the appropriate experience.
So we will definitely make sure, Ms. Tiffany, that our intake team knows that you are ready, that you are excited, so that we can get you a mentor assigned. On the screen, you see a couple of the workshops that we offer, from our startup basics to business concept, marketing plan, financial matters, and funding options. I used to teach a lot of the funding options class, which is really, really exciting. But you all get to experience me with the startup basics tonight. What we always like to recommend is that in between sessions, or even if you are attending some of our virtual workshops that are usually headed by either SCORE team members, volunteers, or even folks in the community, make sure that you take that information and follow up with your mentor to make sure that you are able to answer those questions that might have gone unaddressed, or just to really make sure that you get some guidance. So Vori, our role as a mentor is to really be able to provide expertise, but also to be a sounding board for you as you are building and growing your business. We don't necessarily have any hard requirements for where you need to be in your stage of business. You can be in the ideation phase. You can also be a growing business or an expanding enterprise, or you can also be in the space of your business where you are preparing for succession planning and you need some coaching and some guidance. All of our mentors here at SCORE have been in an array of roles. Some of them are entrepreneurs or have been entrepreneurs. Some of them are executives, and some are just really out here in the space to really make sure that you all as entrepreneurs get the tools and resources that you need. Historically speaking, most people knew of a lot of SCORE mentors, mostly being retired executives or entrepreneurs, but there are still some of us like myself who are still actively working in the industry, doing a number of things, who also contribute our time to SCORE. This is completely voluntary for us. We do this because we love it, and we want to make sure that you get what you need to be successful in business. Next slide, please. So what you'll learn today, we're really going to talk through some of the myths and realities of entrepreneurship, some critical success factors, making sure that you know your options, especially I heard a young lady, Ms. Cooper, says she's looking to start a business, components of business ownership, being able to make it legal, business plan basics, and then we'll give you a mini little self-assessment that you can take at home to really make sure that you understand where you are in your business, and then we'll discuss some next steps. Any questions before we dive into the information? Awesome, awesome. And if throughout this presentation, please do not hesitate to put your questions in the chat. If you would like to verbally speak, just do us a favor and use the raise your hand feature, and we'll make sure that we come with you. So a couple of additional workshop benefits is that hopefully this workshop will help you to develop your feasibility plan, especially for those who might not already be in business as of yet. We want to make sure that we help take you through the decision-making process, help to provide you with some information to really make this a go or a no-go decision on your business idea, to also provide some core information to create a complete business plan that bankers and investors would love. And we want to make sure that we're also giving you the key directions you need to get started. So Scott, there is no fee, no membership fee to join SCORE. So you can get complimentary support from us. Awesome. So I love to start off with some myths, right? And this is just a very, very short list. I'm pretty sure if I asked and did a poll, you all could tell me some additional myths that you have probably heard about entrepreneurship before. But my favorite, number one, as an entrepreneur, you won't have to work that hard or put in such long hours. We all know, and hopefully if we don't know, this is false. It is absolutely a myth, because when you become an entrepreneur, you typically actually work longer hours, right? You are putting in that time, that energy to make sure that you can build a successful business, to make sure that you can build a successful brand. And it takes a lot of sacrifice. When you're an entrepreneur, a lot of times you are spending, 12, 13, 14-hour days, just depending on what you do, how you do what you do, and the industry that you are in. So it's really important to know that if you are contemplating leaving your job to start a business because, oh, I want to work less, that is not the case. And this might not be the best route or solution to your challenge. Myth number two, my product or service is unique and there is no competition. Usually, there's some competition out there, okay? Somebody is already doing it, and a lot of people are doing it, or somebody has the idea and has started to put some feelers in the ground, putting some boots on the ground to get started. So don't necessarily think that just because your idea, your product, your service, just because it's your baby and it's ultra special to you, don't necessarily assume that nobody else has thought of this brilliant idea. But what I say often is that there are multiple brands of toilet tissue. There are multiple brands of bread, cheese, and everything in between. So just because someone else is doing it does not mean that you cannot. It just means that you do have to figure out what makes you unique, what makes your product special, and what's going to really bring consumers to your products instead of your competitors. Myth number three, business owners can deduct everything, so you won't have to pay taxes. Oh man, such a myth. But most importantly, I do not want any of you all aiming for this, because coming from the access to capital space, that is one of the first and easiest ways to get a lender to decline your application, because you have deducted everything. Because at that point on paper, you are no longer profitable. So even if you made $250,000 a year, $100,000 a year, if you wrote off 90% of that or even more of that and we're in the negative, no, you might not have to pay a whole lot of taxes, but guess what? You also don't necessarily give your business a chance to access capital, to grow, and to do other things. OPM is very important. Other people's money and being able to leverage it effectively and efficiently to grow your business is something that we should all be aiming for, not necessarily to skip out on paying our dues. Now, I do necessarily, I do think that we need to tax plan and to make sure that you are working with a CPA, an accountant, to make sure that we are understanding the best tax strategies so that we can reduce or alter the amount that we pay, but you want to do so in the right way. You want to do so in ways like contributing extra to your retirement plans or getting certain insurance products or other ways that will help you to reduce your tax liability. Don't just write off an arm and a leg just because. Myth number 4, as a business owner, you won't have a boss. Why that's a myth? Because you actually pick up more bosses. Because guess what? Your clients become bosses, right? They want what they want, how they want it, when they want it. And guess what? You want to listen to them because you want to keep them and you want to make sure that they continue spending money with you, but also too, your team, your staff. No, theoretically, they're not actually kind of bossing you around and telling you what to do. However, it is your job to also cater to their needs, right? Because when you take care of your employees, guess what? They take care of you. So you have multiple bosses when you start your business. And myth number 5, amongst so many others that I'm sure we can think of, but business owners get to do whatever they want. I wish that was the case, but it is not. You don't necessarily get to do what you want to do. You get to do what you can do, what is feasible to do within your business based on where you are, based on their stage, your level, based on your access to capital, your capabilities, etc. So you don't just start a business and all of a sudden you don't have a boss, all of a sudden you're working less and you just get to do what you want to do. That is not the case. So I'm not going to ask you, but if any of those myths were in the back of your mind or were one of the reasons why you're pivoting to entrepreneurship, I want you to work on letting that go. Okay. You've heard it here first. The reality, okay? Proper planning is key because when you fail to plan, guess what? You are planning to fail, okay? On the screen, what we're looking at is after 2 years, right? You're gonna see about 24% of businesses fail. That's a reality. And it's unfortunate, it doesn't feel good, but it is factual. And guess what? That number increases as the years go on in business. So after 5 years, 50% of businesses fail. And it's not necessarily just because of one reason. It could be a multitude of things. It could be because of lack of capital and access. Maybe they bootstrapped as far as they could. And if they couldn't access capital through grants and loans and things, then a lot of times financially, the business goes under. It could be lack of proper operations. It could be lack of marketing, because even if you have an amazing business idea or product, if people don't know your product exists, then people cannot purchase your product. So it's very important to make sure that we are building a solid foundation for your business. It's just like building a house. You cannot build a house on a foundation that doesn't exist, or a foundation that is extremely rocky and it's missing holes. Because as you build that house on that unbalanced and unstable foundation, guess what? It starts to lean and fall over, and then after a while, it is going to crumble. And I don't want that to be any of you all who's here. What does it really take to make sure that we can be successful in business? We want to make sure that we have some education and experience in the field. I'm not saying that you cannot pivot. And Lindsay, I've been an educator for 20 years, but I'm looking to start, a pet grooming business. I'm not saying that you can't do it, right? However, I am saying that you do need to make sure that you are educating yourself in the industry in which you want to operate a business, because you can't manage a business that you know nothing about. That is super important, okay? No, I'm not saying you have to go and get a bunch of extra degrees or a whole bunch of certificates. I'm not necessarily saying that. However, there are multiple ways to make sure that we are expanding our education and getting some experience in the field. There are apprenticeship opportunities, mentorship opportunities. We also have some free resources at our fingertips every day. What I call Google College and YouTube University, right? You can commit to attending those and really brush up, really learn. And as you're learning, prepare to execute on that. A friend of mine told me a long time ago, she said, Lindsay, way too often we are information rich and execution poor. So we're attending the workshops, we're joining the cohorts, the accelerators, and then after it, we don't do anything with the information. It stays in that notebook or it stays on that computer. And I don't want you all to fall into that. Make sure that you are educating yourself and actually execute on what you are learning. Of course, you want to have a strong work ethic, okay? That is absolute, because being an entrepreneur is not for the faint at heart. It is not for the weak, right? Because it takes work, it takes resilience, it takes a level of grit to really be successful in business. And I know that you all have it. Sometimes we just got to remind ourselves that we have it to show up in that way. It takes effective time management. You have to manage so many things. And especially when you're first starting in your business, most of us start as the chief everything officer. Okay. We're doing marketing, technology, operations, the finances, all of the things. And you have to be able to manage your time. Now, it's not healthy to remain the chief everything officer forever in your business, because at some point you're going to run out of capacity. However, you want to make sure that you're building a strategy in how you manage your time and your energy and your efforts so that you can stay the course, so that you can have the energy and the capacity to keep going. You want to be able to manage multiple tasks, multiple projects at one time. Get yourself a project management system so that you can stay on top of projects, deadlines, next steps, launch plans, all of the things. You also have to have a willingness to ask for help and and take advice from others. Okay, that is important. It is not a sign of weakness to ask for help. Actually, you are the strongest because you have identified a need, a gap that needs to be filled, and you have the confidence to go and ask for it, right? Your major CEOs, those people that we look at and sometimes look up to, trust me, they have a team. They don't know everything. And you want to make sure that you have adequate capital. That could be, it could be in the form of grants. It could be in the form of loans. You can start out with using some equity for your home. You can use some savings. Some people do, pull out some retirement funds. I don't always recommend that because it takes you, sometimes double the time to save that money back. But either way, you want to determine what is going to be your capital stack and being able to start and execute and to grow this business. So, Ms. Sue, could you please expand on the education experience piece? Is it around product manufacturing knowledge or the relevant market industry? All of it. It just depends on what you do, what you're planning to do, and how you do what it is that you need to do to get whatever it is that you need done. You definitely want to have education experience in your industry, in your market, what's happening around you, but also how do you lead? How do you build a business in a specific industry? What does that look like for you all? So I'm going to say all of it. Essential considerations, right? Do you have the financial resources to purchase tools and equipment, leasehold improvements, licenses and permits, professional fees, those attorneys, those CPAs, initial inventory, especially for my product-based business, and even working capital reserves? Because guess what? We all got to have some emergency money aside. Just like we personally need an emergency fund, your business does too. And even more oftentimes, because things shift in the environment. Some of us might have seasonal businesses or conditional businesses based on certain things. And you want to make sure that you're in a space where you have the financials to keep your business going and growing. Next slide, please. Total monthly cost of living. That is something that you want to think about as an entrepreneur. I tell my clients often, your business is an extension of you. So if you are personally not in the best financial space, a lot of times we're starting businesses that are starting in a deficit and not even really having a chance to improve financially. You want to make sure that you have a really good handle on your budget, your personal cash flow, examining where you spend the most money. Are there areas that you can cut back personally to sacrifice so that you can start and build that business? Because you are going to be your first investor in your business. You are going to inject cash in your business. Yes, you can go and ask for a loan or a grant, but guess what? Or even if you ask for an investor, people still want to see that you have some skin in the game. Did you inject any of your own cash into that? What does that look like? Do you have savings? Do you have enough savings to start the business and to still have a savings for you personally? Because we don't want your business to be more harmful than it is helpful for your financial situation. We don't want you to have to determine, are you going to pay your lease for your business or your rent for your home? We want you to make sure that you understand financially where you are and how to be able to grow and glow. So let's talk about some of your options, right? When we think about starting a brand new business, some of the advantages that we've probably seen or heard of is that, it's not hampered by a previous reputation or technologies of an existing business. When you're starting out, you're starting a new business, everything is based on what you desire, based on that business plan that you've created. So you get to start fresh. You get to choose your own location, your name, your logo. You get to build those relationships. You get to explore new markets and directions. And most people are like, well, yeah, Lindsay, that's a part of it, but we have a couple of other slides and you're going to understand the difference and why we start with this. But some disadvantages of starting a brand new business is that a lot of times you don't have an existing customer base. And even if your business is doing what you did professionally for someone else, a lot of times there are terms, right, where you cannot go and pull the clients from your previous job to go and bring them into your business. Yes, you are absolutely taking a bigger risk, but the bigger the risk, and when it's done right, the bigger the reward. And there's no track record when you're starting out, all right? So sometimes there could be difficult in getting financing, especially from traditional lenders who want you to have at least 2 years in business, or sometimes they want you to have a minimum amount of revenue in business before they lend and fund your business. So it's definitely some things to think about and to consider. Next slide, please. Another option within the realm of entrepreneurship is buying an existing business. Not everybody wants to start from scratch, okay? Some advantages of that is a lot of times when you're purchasing an existing business, you get to purchase that clientele, that book of business. A lot of times it also comes with a supplier list of people that they already work with, right, and have good relationships with. If it's a brick and mortar, it comes with a known location where people already know and will patronize you. Even with a management shift, a lot of times we don't even know when businesses change hands in management, because especially if we've been going there anyway, right? You would fall into that same category. Usually that business is known, right? And it's a known quantity when it comes to the formula and the name. People know it. There's a brand established, but they also have a certain way that they do what they do and whatever it is that they do in that business. You can definitely review those financial records. How well did they do? You absolutely want to look at the bare minimum the last 2 years, but you also might want to look at 3 and 4, just depending on the level of investment in that business. Okay. But also, since that business does have a track record, it also may be a little bit easier for you to obtain some financing, especially when the track record tells a good story. Now, if you're purchasing a business and the financials are not where they need to be or where you would like them to be, one, you want to double check before you purchase, but also two, that can prevent you from getting access to capital because banks don't necessarily want to fund a failing business. Some disadvantages, potential hidden issues like debt, poor reputation, loyalty to owner, out of date inventory or transfer issues, many things. Does the business have a good reputation? Is inventory obsolete? Did we buy this business and it said, oh, it came with inventory, and we look at the inventory and it's no longer in market, or it's no good or expired or whatever the case may be? Will you have an employee issue, right? Will their employee just rebel just because, right? Because of the loyalty to that owner. Or sometimes there's just no guarantee that success will continue, even if the business did well. Sometimes a change in management is not always received well by your customers, and you want to think about that. Another option is buying a franchise, okay? And we see them all over the place. While it may seem similar buying a business and buying a franchise, they're still different. When it comes to a franchise, right, you become a part of a proven system with proven products, proven services. They have a way that they do things, and they onboard you into the way that they do things. They usually have marketing or sales power of that franchisor, right? So your headquarters is going to assist in making sure that you can be as successful as possible, because the more successful you are, the more successful they are. The more money you make, the more money they make. They usually will come in and provide some training and some professional guidance, not only just training to you, but usually as a franchise, they will also come in sometimes and train your staff, especially if you're bringing in a new staff. You get continued consulting, and you get access to other franchisees for help. I used to have a client who purchased a Meineke, the car auto place, and he had developed relationships with several other franchisees in his industry that really helped him to be able to build that business. So it helps you to expand your network. But of course, just like anything else, it comes with some disadvantages. There can be limited freedom to make your own decisions because you're definitely not always your own boss. A lot of times when you're part of a franchise network, they have some protocol in which you have to follow to be a part of their network. You usually may pay some ongoing royalties or other types of fees that are associated with being a part of the franchise model. A lot of times there are binding contracts that limit your exit options. That's something that you want to think about and vet, right? When you're thinking about which franchise do you want to be a part of. But something that's very unpopular is that if that franchisor has some issues, guess what? A lot of times they spill over into your business, right? Those same problems, they become your problems. And you want to make sure that you understand that. You want to consider the reputation of the company that you're considering joining when buying a franchise. Now, what has become more popular, right, since COVID is our home-based and remote businesses. Of course, it's convenient to work from home. You usually have less overhead, flexible schedule, other tax advantages, but you also usually get to hire people anywhere in the world. I have a very diverse staff in my business, right? But my primary assistant, who I've been working with for about 2 years and who's amazing, is in the Philippines. So, but you get that flexibility when you don't necessarily need someone who has to be physically present. But you do face some disadvantages as well, right? Do you face zoning or deed restrictions? Some landlords or, some companies are saying, hey, you cannot operate a commercial business out of this residential home, regardless of what it is that you do. You have isolation from others. Sometimes it can get lonely working from home. And if you're not expanding your network as an entrepreneur, that can also be a challenge. Sometimes there's difficulty finding financing. And oftentimes family distractions. You got your kid tapping on your leg, your spouse walking in the room often, and every other thing that we can think of between the pet needing to go outside. Those types of distractions that you typically would not have if you were not working from home. So while still very beneficial and convenient, you want to also just kind of think about the downsides. Now, I know we have some folks in here who might want to start nonprofits and some things that you want to consider, right? Yes, you can definitely qualify for some grants, whether foundation grants, government grants, even from other corporations. You do have that protection from liabilities for your directors and employees, but also you can pay salaries to employees and consulting fees for your contract. And while, you know, some of those advantages apply to other things and other business practices, it's still very common, you know, in your nonprofit space. And just, you know, some disadvantages that you gotta focus on something impactful, whether it's educational or charitable or, you know, something that says, yes, our benefactors will benefit from this. Organizations look for impactful nonprofits to serve. You also want to make sure that you understand that as a nonprofit, those profits remain within the organization, right? That is not your money. Even if you are the founder of that nonprofit, you now have a board, and that structure is completely different. It is not like having a pass-through entity like a sole proprietorship or LLC, in which we'll get to that shortly. But also, too, you have to apply, and then you have to qualify for your 501c3 status so that you can get the tax exemption, you know, so that you can have those perks that most people are looking for when they start their nonprofits. You actually have to apply for that. It doesn't just automatically come. I saw that someone had their hand up. So Ms. Green, I think it was you who raised your hand, but I see that you put your question in the chat. Are grants still going to be available after the destruction of DEI, women-owned, LGBT-owned, Native American businesses? Really great question. And we're going to, you know, keep from being political here, all right? Because we are connected with SCORE through the SBA. It just depends, right? It depends on who's giving those grants. So I can't really speak from a government space, but I do know that there are organizations who are still giving, and some of them see the need to give more to those communities who will be displaced financially. So I hope that, you know, answered your question a bit, Ms. Green. Online businesses, my e-commerce folks. When it comes to, you know, advantages, there's usually some lower startup costs. There are usually, you know, growing customer acceptance to shop online, right? Especially in this particular day and age, e-commerce is very popular. You have expanded geographic reach. You can live in North Carolina and have clients in, you know, India, Africa, wherever around the world, in the Caribbean, right? Because they are shopping online. The convenience and accessibility for customers who can shop 24/7. You have flexibility for you to do business really anytime and from anywhere, to be honest with you, which is absolutely a perk. But just like anything else, you know, some of the disadvantages is low barriers to entries. It's a lot of competition. There are so many online businesses. I know you all receive a ton of emails, a ton of ads on your devices. Guess what? When you start your online business, you become one of the many as well. Not to discourage you, but you gotta understand advantages and disadvantages when you're making decisions, because they help you. When you know what's happening, you can make better decisions for your business. Consumers also have higher expectations and are less tolerant of problems, right? When they order something online, they want it tomorrow. You know, Amazon has a spoil. They want their stuff and they're calling you, emailing you, and they're not as kind sometimes when it comes to small businesses and who have, you know, an online presence. But also too, you don't really have that personal contact, you know, very, very limited sensory info for your customers. You don't get to shake their hand or smile in their face, you know. But for some of us, especially for some of my introverts, that might be a bonus for you. So it might not always be a disadvantage for some folks, just depending on who you are and where you are. So some components of owning a business. So remember I said earlier that you will be the chief everything officer, right? We think that sometimes adding that CEO title is cute. It makes me fancy, but guess what? It comes with work too. Because when you're starting out and you're by yourself, you're the CEO, the admin, accounting, human resources, marketing, sales, customer service, production, fulfillment, everything. You're managing the tech, facilities, everything, until you get to a point where you can outsource and hire. And some people, don't get me wrong, some people do access capital before the business actually starts, so they might have funds to hire immediately, but your average small business owner doesn't, and that's important to understand as well. Marketing, very, very important, okay? When it comes to marketing, you want to make sure, right, that the strategies that we're using to create a desire to purchase, you got to understand who's your target market. Who are you looking to serve? Who is spending money on what you have to offer? What does their salary range look like? What does their ideal lifestyle look like? And where are they spending their time, so you know where to market? If you have a certain type of business, Instagram might not be your go-to, right? Or social media in general might not be your go-to. But even if you're using social media, you might want to market your business to clients who are on LinkedIn versus on Instagram or TikTok. Or you might find it's better to market old school, printing out some flyers and cards and papers and all the things, and actually handing them out in person versus email newsletters. You have to make sure that whatever strategy or strategies that you're using, it creates the desire for people to want to purchase your products, okay? And everybody needs a marketing budget. And don't just make up something, I see often sometimes on lending applications, people will put just a random amount for marketing. I like to ask, and how do you plan to use it? How will you deploy that in marketing? You want to know, what is the strategy and how do we execute the strategy? And how do we fund the strategy? It also creates and promotes your image and helps to build your brand. Once you become an entrepreneur, you are a walking brand all the time. A lot of times before people see the reviews, if they know you, they see you, right? A lot of times when we're online nowadays, and especially for my e-com businesses and entrepreneurs in general, you oftentimes will connect with the brands and the person, and then you decide that you want to spend your money with them. But also, you got to remember, and you can never forget, that your product or service will not sell itself. Marketing is going to be important for the rest of your business's career. And this is covered way more in detail in the marketing session. Branding. It's important to understand the difference between marketing and branding. While I am not an expert in marketing and branding, that is not my zone of genius. I know the difference, right? And you have to understand the importance of diversifying the difference in your efforts. When it comes to a brand, right? If I showed you a check mark right now, you would say, oh, that's Nike. Whether you saw the words or not, you just know that check mark. If I show you an apple with a bite in it, you already know. You already know. So when you think about branding, right, you want to create that recognition, that visual and name recognition, so that people know and can relate your brand to whatever that product or service is. And you want to be very intentional about that. The qualification of that product and service comes from your branding. You create your market's identity, right? And as you create those branding elements and you are putting them out there, being able to advertise that brand so that people know the brand. You have people who commit so much to brands that they don't care what the brand come out with. Just because it has the name on it, I'm going to buy it anyway. You want to be able to build a brand like that. It definitely takes time, energy, and resources, but you want to lead with that in your mind. Sales. Even if you are not a salesman, saleswoman, even if sales has not been your favorite aspect of a job, you gotta do it, okay? And even if you say, oh, Lindsay, I'm gonna hire somebody to do it, guess what? You still need to be able to master sales yourself so that you can teach your team how to sell your product or service. You want to be able to lead from the front and not just say, oh, I'm gonna hire them to do it and your hands are completely off of it. You gotta have your hands still in the mix, right? Sales allow you to contact and connect with your customers, to create that relationship, find prospects, make presentations, prepare bids, close deals, process orders. All of those are a part of sales, and they are instrumental because guess what? If your business isn't making any sales, your business won't have any money. And when your business doesn't have any money too long, too consistently, there will be no business. You got to do a self-assessment. You got to ask yourself some hard questions. What areas are you weak in when it comes to business operation? Even if you study business, even if you have degrees in business, it's real different than actually starting and operating the business yourself, right? So you want to figure out, where are my holes? Where are the gaps? If I'm a marketing expert, I might be able to do marketing well. But if I don't know finance, who do I need to bring on my financial dream team to help me manage my business? You gotta be aware of where you are, right? What you do come to the table with, but also what you don't. And it does not make you less of an entrepreneur. It does not make you less important, right? It does not make you inferior to anyone. It just means that, hey, there is an area of opportunity here. And I need to fill in the gap with somebody, some expertise or mentorship somewhere. Can you take a course to improve those skills, right? Are there things being offered? If there are duties that just don't fit your skills, yes, can you hire someone or take on a partner, a co-founder, right? Or of course you can outsource some of those tasks. But I always say, even if you don't know everything about everything, you want to know a little bit about everything in your business so that you can at least navigate conversations. Because I mean, even if you hire someone who is, their zone of genius is what we lack, you still want to be able to have a conversation so that you know what's happening, so that you can guide and lead your team. It's important. And even if you are skilled in these roles, guess what? You won't have time to do everything. So you still want to make sure that we're creating space for that, right? What's the most important in your business? What will you focus on? And what can you delegate? You want, as an entrepreneur, as that business owner, as that lead, that CEO, you want to focus on revenue generating activities. Some administrative stuff, we can pass that along, but at least know a little bit about it so that you can have a conversation. Of course, other critical factors, right? Especially for my brick and mortar businesses, location, 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 location. But you want to have a niche. What do? Even if at some point you want your company to offer multiple things, a galore of products and services, start small first. Create a niche in the market, build some traction, build some viability, and then grow from there. Understand your target market. Who's buying? And if the people you're targeting, can they afford it? Right? And everybody's not going to be your client, and that is okay. But you do want to know where your clients are, where can you find them, and what they're paying for your level of service. Of course, thinking about competition. If you're opening up a gym, you might not want to open up a gym in a shopping center that already got a gym 5 stores down, right? That just might not be the best idea, right? You want to think about distribution, but also merchandising. So many things that are important. And no, you're not going to know everything after this presentation. Again, this is just a glimpse. This is just a start. But you got to continue to sharpen yourself and your skills and to learn these things. Thinking about pricing. What's going to be your consumer's reaction to your price? What is have you done a cost analysis, right? What is it going to cost you to produce whatever this service is or product? What's the time it's going to take you to do it, right? Is there any competition out there? What are they pricing their services and products at? You never want to be the most expensive thing, but you also don't want to be the cheapest thing either, right? You want to make sure that your value actually matches your price, okay? Being able to even understand right credit terms and discounts if you offer them. But we don't want to be charging, yes, we have to make money, but we don't want to charge, we don't want to charge Nordstrom prices or Saks prices and we're giving Walmart value, right? We want to make sure that we are pricing our things according to the value. But you also don't want to give Saks services with Dollar General prices, because if people see that the prices are too low for what you're saying that you're offering, some people are like, I don't trust it. Let me go find somebody else, right? That is a such thing as being priced too low for people in the market. So make sure that you do your research, do your due diligence, right? Have those conversations. Even go in, hey, it's nothing wrong with walking into your competitor's shop just to see what's happening. It's nothing wrong with going on their website and looking at their fees for services. It's nothing wrong with that. You want to do that level of due diligence and research so that you make sure that you're taken care of. Accessing your competitors, right? You want to think about the size of their operation. How many employees do they have? I already mentioned price, right? But you want to think about the quality of what they're offering. What are they providing? What does their reputation look like? What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? Make sure you take those personal visits and observations, right? Suppliers and contractors and even other businesses in the area. Assess them and do that for a period of time. Don't just do it one day and say, oh, just because Lindsay said do it, let me go do it real quick while I got 2 hours to spare. No, that should be a part of your market research, and don't you forget it. And oftentimes you want to just check in again, do some random research, even once you've started and are growing, just to make sure that you're still in alignment with where you need to be. Next slide. Making it legal. Ms. Cooper was asking earlier about entity types and starting her e-commerce business, right? There are several forms of business organizations, from sole proprietorships to partnerships to limited liabilities companies, the LLCs, usually the most popular. You have your C corps, those closed corporations, your S corps, those stock corporations, right? Which is technically S corps are subchapters, right? Usually of LLCs, right? And it's usually a tax designation, right? It's a lot to learn, a lot of information, and it's okay if you don't know it all, right? But you want to understand the options. So a couple of recommendations that we have for our startups. Sometimes you just want to keep it simple to begin with. Even if you know one day you want to be a C corp, you want to be a big boy, keep it simple to begin with, right? You might decide to be, a sole prop where it is just you, right? And you're starting, you don't necessarily have any partners at the time. You want to think about that. But if you do decide to have a partner, a co-founder or whatever, what does that look like? You want to think about liability, right? Taxation, especially if that's a concern. An LLC or S corp may be better fitting for you. Typically, right? Not all the time, but typically. And I'm not a lawyer, right? And I am not an accountant. But typically, when you are an LLC and you're considering S corp status, usually you become an S corp after you've been an LLC and you've reached a certain level of profitability. Because as a single member LLC is that pass-through entity, you're paying about 15% in taxes, right? And that's self-employment taxes. And a lot of times once you get to a certain level of grossing a certain amount of money and profiting a certain amount of money, your CPA may recommend that you then become an S corp. So you just want to have conversations. Again, make sure that you are educating yourself, right? There are so many resources on line that you can take advantage of. Don't just go to one website and say, hey, this is it. Look at a few different websites, look at a few different opinions, and, talk to your mentor about what that looks like. You want to consider, those government regulations. What business licenses do you need? What approvals do you need? Whether federal, state, or local. What does that look like so that you can operate your business and doing so and being compliant? What labor laws, immigration laws, are there signs that you're supposed to have up? And if you're the only one who's managing HR, you want to make sure that you're not missing anything, right? What does the IRS say? What are your Social Security withholding and your payments? You want to think about all those things, especially as you grow and it's no longer just you. Especially when you have contractors, you're onboarding employees, right? You now want to think about all of these things. Insurance, okay? You want to make sure that you have the proper insurance. You definitely want to have some property insurance, especially for my brick and mortars, right? Even for your home where you live, you want to make sure that you're properly insured. If you have a mortgage, you automatically gonna make sure you have insurance. But even as a renter insurance is important. You want to make sure your business has those same property insurances, right? For commercial businesses. Liability insurance, motor vehicle insurance, umbrella liability, right? To cover some additional things, usually at a higher price point. Workers' comp, right? Especially when you have employees, those W-2 folks. Health insurance, life insurance, business interruption insurance. And when we think about health and life, you want to make sure that you have enough for yourself. You want to make sure that, especially if you have partners, you have, insurance to cover them too. But you want to make sure that you consider benefits for your employees. And what does that look like? What are you covering as a benefit for your employees? And we got to think about it. We're in a very competitive market. So you want to be able to offer them something. You might not start with everything in the beginning, or you might not give it to them as soon as they start. There might be a waiting period, sometimes 90 days, sometimes 6 months. Whatever that looks like, though, you want to make sure that you are remaining competitive in the industry so that you can hold on to your people. Because ultimately, you spend more money when you have a revolving door of employees. And a lot of times we can just spend the money to give them some decent compensation and an employment package with those insurances. Sometimes we save more money than we would if we just had to keep hiring different people because we're not offering anything. And yes, you do have to work your way up to that to make sure that your business can afford it, but you want to consider it. Business plan basics. How many people, put in the chat, how many people have a business plan? Whether it's, lean, that might be that one pager, or if you have, a complex 10-page business plan, whatever that looks like, let us know in the chat what you have, where you are. When you think about your business plan and the importance of it, right? It really encourages an objective view, okay? It really helps to become the foundation for the planning and execution of that business. And even as you grow, I say often, your business plan is not a one-time thing. You don't just complete it once and put it on the shelf to collect dust and you never touch it again. It is a living and breathing document. So your business plan should be adjusted, altered, brushed up every so often. If not once a year, at least every 18 to 24 months. Are you doing what your business said you were going to do in your plan? If not, what changed? Document those changes. Did you rack up some wins? Did we get some certifications, some client success stories? Add them to your business plan, right? You always want to make sure that it is up to date because you might be 3 years in and you want to access some capital to ask for a business plan. Don't give them your business plan you created 2 years ago and you haven't touched since. You want to make sure that it gives an accurate depiction of your company today. It's a very, very powerful management tool when you use it effectively, right? But most importantly, it helps to connect people to your ideas. What is the plan of execution? There are some lenders even before you start generating income, that will potentially lend to your business based off of your business plan and those financial projections. If you're able to communicate your ideas and your impact effectively. Listen, I also know that AI is a thing. I know that ChatGPT is very educated and can create business plans. However, you do not want to have a word for word ChatGPT business plan. Lenders can see it, coaches and mentors, they can tell if it looked like it was just printed off from ChatGPT. Don't be that person. Let it give you an idea, a framework, but build in it yourself. People want to feel a part of you, that owner, inside of that business plan. It's really, really important. No, it doesn't have to be 10 pages, but everybody needs a plan. Even if it's lean, you gotta have a business plan. Thank you, Miss Ann. A couple of business plan contents. Lindsay, what am I putting in this business plan? You want to start off with table of contents, right? To let people know what's in it. What are they going to find in this business plan? You want them to know on the front page, because some folks, if I'm a lender and you haven't really started the business yet, I might say, you know what, let me go down here to these projections first. Let me scan this, and then let me go back to figure out how you plan to get here. Okay. So have your table of contents, have your executive summary. Okay. Now, with your executive summary, it should give them a good idea, right, of what your business plan is going to detail for them. But you don't want to make the executive summary too long. It's called a summary for a reason, friends. So make sure it's concise, it's clean, not overly wordy just because we're trying to fill space. But you want to make sure that it's effective and impactful. You want to have, we've broken down a couple of sections. The business, spell out the business. What is the business? What do you plan to do? Why do you plan to do what you do in the business? Who do you want to serve? How do you want to serve them? Identify that. You do not want people to look at your business plan and they're even more confused than they were when they first talked to you, because your business plan didn't make any sense. Make sure that you're going back to proofread, to edit, to make sure that if you didn't know anything about that business, that you can read it and get a solid idea. Nothing is worse than, as a lender, all right, when we are looking at underwriting loans, that we look at the business plan and we got a long list of questions just because it was a lot of incompleteness. You don't want that, because some lenders are not as gracious. They will just decline it and keep it moving. But some of them will say, hey, can you spell out this for me? Can you bring clarity here so that our team can have a better understanding, right? You want to try to avoid that in the beginning because it saves time and energy, okay? Your financial forecast, which you also might hear as projections. If your business hasn't made money yet, you want to be able to identify what could be made from your business, from the work that you plan to do. What does that look like? And be realistic, y'all. Don't say in year one, we're going to make $500,000. Don't do it. You want to be more modest than anything, right? It's impossible to be concise because you haven't started yet, right? So nobody really knows what's going to happen, but you are forecasting, you're creating a plan. You want to see what's happening in the market. What does the economy look like? What does the market share for your business and your industry look like, feel like? What is the pricing of your products and your services? How many of them do you plan to sell in the first year? How many do you plan to launch, right? Do you have a staggered launch, staggered releases where it's broken up in phases? Where Q1 might include the first product, but by Q3 you have 2 products. You want to make sure that your projections and your forecasts are as realistic as possible, right? Sometimes we see people overly fluff the numbers. Guess what? That does not help you qualify for more money. Lindsay, why are you always talking about these lending references? Because it's important. You want to make sure that you are positioning your business to not just access capital, right, loans and stuff, but you want to make sure that if at any point you decide I want out and I want to sell it, is it in the position to be sold? You want to also make sure that you have supporting data. What does the market research say? And have the references for that research. Don't just say, I don't know, ChatGPT said it, so that's what I put in here. No, you want to go back to the data. What does the source say? Do your research. Is there a class to help understand how much you anticipate your business could make? So I've seen SCORE conduct projections workshops. I don't know if we have any on the schedule right now, Ms. Clemens, but there are plenty of them out there. So I will also say, one, check our website first to see if we have any projections or forecasting workshops available currently. And if we don't, definitely look up, events that are happening around you that work on projections. A lot of CDFIs do them, community development and financial institutions. These are our alternative lenders. So if you're not ready for a loan from a big bank, a lot of times a CDFI is another great option. And they heavily focus on business plans and projections. So they definitely conduct workshops. So there are a few different CDFIs across the state of North Carolina, and other, entrepreneurial serving organizations who do offer that. Supporting data. As your business grows, you also want to add in some additional supporting data about you and your company. So, like for me, a good example, back in 2022, my company was awarded with the Maryland SBA. We were awarded the Financial Services Champion of the Year. You for sure had to add that to my business plan as supporting data to why everything that they just read is important and makes us stand out. So again, as you're editing that business plan, as you go along and growing that business, you want to go back and add those key things in there. Now, my favorite part is building your team, okay? In finance, I call it having your financial dream team or your winning wealth team. But every business owner needs a team because you cannot do this alone, okay? You want to make sure that you have your banker, okay? Now, the letters are a little scrambled, but we like to call it your bail team to start, right? You want to have your banker, your business banker preferably, but you may start out with a personal banker. They might be a business advocate or provide those services. You want to make sure, one, you understand how your financial institution, looks at bankers and how do they segment their business departments. So when it comes to banking, there's usually multiple layers of business banking support. You have your retail level, which is your bank branch level, where you usually will have either a business specialist or some type of business banker, or if they don't have that specific designation with their bankers, your branch manager may be the person who support entrepreneurs. You want to know that. As you graduate, there's usually a commercial banker who usually manage loans and companies who have a revenue size of over $1 million, $2 million. Then you have your corporate banking, and these are for my big corporations who have, millions and millions of dollars in assets. You want to understand how your financial institution operate to know who should be your business banker. And depending on where you live, there's usually going to be a branch that is assigned to your portfolio. I know we try to run away from banks. I know they've given you so much convenience. We can do everything from our phones and the ATMs, but walk into your branch. You absolutely want your branch to feel like Cheers, that you go in there and they know you and everybody knows your name. I know the teller might try to introduce you to the banker every time. Give them a chance. Sometimes we used to see clients walk in on the phone, don't want to talk, they just want us to make the deposit. But you do not want to miss out on the opportunity to have a banker. In 2020, there were so many entrepreneurs who did not get a chance to access PPP funding, EIDL funding, because they didn't have a good banker who could advocate for them or have a conversation with them. You want to find you a really good banker. And sometimes you find the banker and then you go and join that institution. Or it's easy sometimes to just try to identify a banker in the institution you're already working in. You want to have a lawyer. No, we might not be in a place to, pay them on retainer every month, but you want to have some type of legal support. Is there a lawyer that you can get to know where if you need them, you can call them? Or is there, or a legal service, right? Legal Chill, for example. They provide legal expertise at a very, very low cost. Do what's best for your budget, but be able to have some type of legal support. For my people who are still working, does your job offer any type of legal support? Leverage it. Have a conversation. Even if you're pulling your documents and contracts from online, you really still want to make sure that you have someone you can call. So, and yes, we do. As SCORE mentors, we do have a list that we can share with you of Charlotte representatives. Joe, I will see. Joe, do you have like the most up-to-date list? I do know the list of professionals that I have. This list is from a few years ago. So, and you're in Raleigh. So we may have to do some additional due diligence, Miss Ann, but definitely reach out to us and we will make sure that we can, help as much as possible. We usually will give you at least 3, referrals and recommendations, and then you kind of vet and do your due diligence for yourself to choose who you want to work with. You want to have an accountant, right? Your accountant may or may not be, a CPA, but you want to make sure that they're good, they know what they're doing, and that you can trust them. They might not be the one who's doing your month-to-month bookkeeping, but you still want to have an accountant that you are working with. Do not wait until the end of the year to reach out to your accountant because you want to prepare for your taxes. Okay? You want to meet with them throughout the year so that you can tax plan, so that you can see how your business's financials are doing, so that you can make adjustments along the way. Don't wait until the end of the year to start making changes or the beginning of the next year to look at what you did the previous year. You want to have that ongoing relationship. So you can have an accountant that's not a CPA, but they become a CPA when they take the certified public accounting exam. Like it's a CPA is a specific designation. From my experience, usually, yes, CPAs, because they have that special designation, there are certain additional requirements that they have to follow to maintain that. So they're usually a little bit more savvy, tax savvy. But there are some really good accountants out there who just haven't taken the CPA exam, who still may be great too. So, vet them out, as I say, date multiple people, right? Because you don't get married after the first date anyway in real life. So, you don't feel like you have to do that with your partners either. You want to have an insurance agent, and you definitely want to have a business mentor, coach, right? Hey, we offer that to you. So if you don't have a mentor yet, make sure that you sign up for one. So now our very quick small business readiness assessment, okay? We're not going to necessarily make you, complete this right now because I also want to be very mindful of the time. But I do want you, to really think about, what strengths and what areas do you need to work on so that you can come to your conversations with your mentors or with your coaches, whomever you might have, because I always say it's good to have multiple folks in your corner. You might have a mentor with SCORE. You also may have a coach with the SBDC or Operation Hope or any other organization that provides that, because different people, they're going to share with you from their experience. So, diverse experiences are important and they matter. Next slide. So I want you to look at this, take a screenshot of it, take a picture, whatever feels good. And I want you to do this as your growth work.
Actually, we're going to send that out, Lindsay, to everyone so they can take time. I think it takes a little bit of thought, but hopefully all the good information that you provided today gives everybody sort of an opportunity to kind of really ascertain where they are. If they're thinking about a business, it's a great exercise to go through and kind of map out what am I good at? Where do I score on a high note to start out? but there might also be some areas that identify some weaknesses, right? Which is maybe a great opportunity for you to either invest in maybe additional research or additional homework or getting a mentor. So it's a great little tool. We'll send that out to everyone. If you want to take a screenshot, feel free to do that. But it's a great starting point and really helps sort of that set the tone for that first session with a mentor.
Thank you, Joe, for that. It's really important. And you want to be honest with yourself, right? Because if you can't be honest with yourself, you're not going to be honest with anyone else. And we want you to be able to come and be confident in where you are, be confident in what you know, but also be confident to say, you know what, Lindsay, you know what, Joe, I'm not an expert in this area. Can you help me? Can you provide support, or can you connect me with someone who can provide support? And you also can have, support from other mentors. So you might be assigned to someone and they may be a great mentor, but you might need some extra support in another area. As SCORE mentors, we have access to the database and we can reach out to other mentors to join in for co-mentoring sessions. But you got to be honest with yourself. And really, you don't want this to be the only time that you assess yourself. I tell folks often, you want to do a regular SWOT analysis on yourself. All right, I'm in this particular season. We are a year and a half in business. What are those current strengths? What are those weaknesses? What are those opportunities? And what are those threats? So that you can continue adjusting, so that you can continue evolving to make sure that you are never left behind, that you are never stuck, and that we don't become complacent in who we are and what we're doing. Any questions? Any questions?
Lindsay, does everybody have your contact information if there's any follow-up questions?
No, they don't, but I can type my email address in the chat right now.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Right.
And while you do that, thank you very much for your time today, for your great energy today, presenting the good, the bad, and the ugly of starting a new business. Good luck to all of those of you who are thinking about it. Again, SCORE offers a lot of tools free of charge to you, online workshops, information, recorded workshops, subject matter experts who talk about specific topics. And of course, ultimately, if you feel you're ready to move forward, at least with a plan, reach out to SCORE and request a mentor. So thank you all. We're going to send you a survey. Also, just get some feedback from you on the quality of our presentation today. But thank you all for being here today. Lindsay, again, thank you very much for your great presentation.
Of course, thank you. It takes a team. Thank you for managing our tech and getting our slides together. I really appreciate you. It's always very helpful. I also dropped my LinkedIn in the chat in case anybody just want to connect. Even if you say, hey, I'm not ready for, you to be a mentor, but you just want to check in, Lindsay, what are your thoughts here? I am more than welcome to be a thought partner for you all as much and as best as possible. Know that we are rooting for you. Know that you are not alone in this journey. Okay, you have a team behind you. You have me, you have Joe, you have the entire team across our SCORE chapters in your network. And make sure you also, don't hesitate to just start reaching out to people. You see the names that's been in this presentation with you. Go and add them. Go look for them on LinkedIn. Go look for them on social media or their website. Get familiar. Because as entrepreneurs, we gotta have a solid village. Just like it takes a village to raise a child, it also takes a village to build a business and to make sure that we're continuing to empower our entrepreneurs. We appreciate you all, and we hope that you have an amazing rest of your week and weekend, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Good night, everyone.